Hello once again, everybody. Last week my fridge broke down while I was out of town, and all of my food had to be thrown out. It's a situation that really gets you thinking. See, there's something that happens to your mind when you don't have access to chicken tendies. After a while, the thought might even occur to you that in an absolute survival situation, there's very little stopping you from preparing your roommate into a sort of Brendan filet mignon. I live in a place where you can access other food, and anyways, the jury might not even understand that you need your tendies. They'd probably even think you were crazy. We have probably 3, maybe 4 weeks before the complete societal collapse puts us into a survival situation like that anyways. So instead, we're going to explore that decision we'll all be facing soon from the relative safety of our own homes, virtually, with the power of technology. I'm Code for Broke, and if you're just joining us, my enemies have discovered my location and I've gone into hiding. Before there's any more talk of that Brendan pot pie we both can't stop thinking about, I noticed that the haunches of meat flying off of the characters in our simulated world hardly convey the tenderness we'd expect from a real human hamstring. They clip through the ground so much you can barely get your hands on the suckers before they disappear into the earth, and when they're not phasing through walls, they feel very flat and boring. In order to better delight the senses, I wrote a Blender script to render frames on 2 different axes for every limb that can be removed. With the sprite sheets generated, I made a neat little script that swaps out the sprites based on the rotation of an invisible 3D object that they're attached to. It's not perfect by any means, but it really does achieve a much better feeling of impact, especially after modifying the name generation to call every character in the game Brendan. After watching my little sprite rotator for a while, it quickly became obvious to me what the next move was. And anyways, I needed some work to distract myself from all this talk of Brendan Stroganoff and peppercorn roast Brendan and things of that nature. I made this classic spit roast fire pit, not unlike the one I made as a sort of do-it-yourself project late last night. Since we already figured out the sprite rotation, all we have to do is class it up a bit with some cheap tricks, and we've got a one-way ticket to Flavortown. Now we'll just make it so you can drop any limbs you're carrying, which you certainly could have sourced ethically. And anyways, it's not illegal to just have someone's arms and legs. Just having them doesn't prove anything. Plus, I'm putting them down right now, so you can't even really say for sure that I'm the one who brought them here. Of course, preparing a meal is as important as the hunt itself, so I added the little touch of the rotisserie meat slowly changing color as it approaches that fall off the bone tenderness. At this point, I've gotten a little ahead of myself since there's not actually a way to eat anything yet. You have to understand, it's pretty hard for me to think when I'm hungry. I quickly made an animation in Blender to show that the character was eating, and then I put the hungry little fella into the game. At this point, we've been cooking that leg low and slow for the last couple hours, and it was just about ready to pop that sucker off the grill. You might notice that the inventory screen isn't just a rectangle anymore. That's because a friend of mine whipped up a draft of something I could never find the time to do on account of all of my important research into the best do-it-yourself backyard pig roast that can support a 165-pound animal. Maybe if you guys take a look at his YouTube channel, it will convince him to perform more unpaid labor. Next week, I want to get the NPCs caught up by giving them the same abilities that we've given the player. I think it'll be really interesting when we have computer players dragging other NPCs to prison or butchering their enemies to cook them. Anyways, something just reminded me that I have to go pick up my roommate now, so make sure you remember to like, comment, and subscribe. And if anybody asks you, you and I were hanging out all night long, and so there's just no way that I'm the person that they're looking for.